I know I'm already reading you a ton of stuff this month, but I'm gonna slip in, just because I'm working on it myself, some of December 1941 by Craig Shirley. And I think I will only end up reading you 3 or 4 chapters of the book in total, and they'll be broken up, but we'll read the 5th of December because I'm recording on the 5th of December, and I will be using the J slur as it was used at the time. Just a quick trigger warning for that, a not okay word for the Japanese that was commonly used during World War II. So without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 5, the 5th of December. U.S. proposals downed by Japs, Nevada State Journal. Japanese sea talks continue. Standard Examiner. Tokyo envoy to meet Mexico ordered home as U.S.-Japan crisis grows. Scientists discovered in December 1941 that the sun was 100,000 miles farther away from the Earth than previously thought, rather than the formerly believed 92,897,416 miles. Dr. H. Spencer Jones, Astronomer Royal at the Greenwich Observatory in Great Britain, just outside of London, calculated Sol was actually 93,300,000 miles from terra firma. Dr. Jones also made some discoveries about asteroids, which other scientists referred to as the lice of the heavens. Astronomers also enlarged their knowledge about sunspots. During this time, astrophysical research was gathering momentum in an intriguing area, black holes. In a new line of exploration that was dismissed by scientific old guard as erroneous, fanciful, and more imaginative scientists were theorizing that when a star collapsed after a supernova, it created a scientifically dense mass from which even light couldn't escape, deforming the fabric of space and time. Despite the war, German and British astronomers continued to exchange information. The world may have been on the brink of annihilation, but it was also on the brink of exciting new discoveries with enormous lasting implications. Science was advancing in other areas as well. In Los Angeles, an amateur ham radio operator, Carl E. Pearson, said he had developed important technology to quit the static herd over broadcast receivers. Pearson had gained fame previously when he had been one of the last to hear transmissions from the lost aviatrix Amelia Earhart on her fateful around-the-world flight in 1937. He also claimed to have received transmissions from Earhart's after her plane went down. Because of the aluminum shortage in America, a new strong and flexible material was being perfected: plastics. Some scientists predicted a bright future for the revolutionary new synthetic product and for young men going into the business of polymer and acetate development. Someday, bathtubs, caskets, automobiles, and airplane sections may be made of plastic. Plastic automobile bodies were also envisioned, but at the time the material was mostly dedicated to the war effort. Scientific advancement also extended to diet. Nutritionalists in England, for instance, discovered that rose hips were 20 times richer in vitamin C, the anti-infective vitamin, that orange juice, now scarce because of the war. The Ministry of Health initiated a harvest of hedgerows to garner 500 tons of the rose fruit to be converted into a tasty, health-giving syrup. And scientists in Australia were working to perfect powdered beef, and in one instance, a 6-year-old can of powdered meat came out in perfect condition. Dr. Carl Menninger, head of the American Psychoanalytical Association, produced a report explaining that man sought war because it was a way to gratify subconscious desires to destroy and kill. Elaborating, Dr. Menninger said, "War appeals to people for the same reason that the fascist philosophy appeals to people. It stimulates the wish to exert power over other people, to be aggressive, dominant, commanding, possessive." Science was also unfortunately improving man's ability to make war in the air, on the high seas, and over land. The American military announced the development of a fantastic new gun that could shoot down anything that could fly, and that is expected to prove a major force in the war against Hitlerism. The announcement was made by Brigadier General G.M. Barnes before a meeting of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers in the Hotel Astor in New York City. Quantity production will begin next month. The new weapon has a caliber of 4.7 inches, or 120 millimeters. The characteristics of the gun are a carefully guarded military secret, but General Barnes discussed its history, reported the New York Times. Barnes elaborated, reports from abroad indicate that 90% of the bombing over England and Germany has been carried out at altitudes not exceeding 12,000 feet. And the new gun would be effective at higher altitudes, using a heavier and more effective projectile. So as to leave no doubt, Barnes went into even further detail for the benefit of casual and not-so-casual readers, such as German and Japanese spies. Then General Barnes turned it over to Colonel L.B. Lent, chief engineer of the National Inventors Council, who told the meeting that some revolutionary new weapons submitted to the council were under test and development and someday soon may be heard from in tones not pleasant to the Axis powers. Unfortunately, a 70-ton flying boat built for the government by Glenn L. Martin Company caught fire and then ran aground in Baltimore Harbor while conducting sea and air trials. A propeller flew off and hit the fuselage, causing the mishap, and the plane was badly damaged as other parts of it caught fire. The plane had been named Mars. For the first time in months, Washington was drenched by a really good gully washer, and a strange rainbow shone over the city for a brief time. The temperature on December 5th was unusually warm for the season. It was in the 60s. Because of better sanitation, including treated water, and the improved methods of handling sewage and trash, American lifespans had rocketed up in just a few short years. At the turn of the century, the average life expectancy for an American was around 44 years of age, but by 1941 it had gone up to 66 years for women and 63 years for men, and yet Americans' diet was still questionable, as 50% of draftees were rejected mostly due to poor nutrition, which was attributed to substandard household income. A Gallup poll found that 4 in 10 American families were bringing in less than $25 per week, and as such could not afford enough food. The residents of 12 million households went to bed hungry every night. There was still too little work to go around, and we'll pause there.